this was a many to many. That's as hard as it gets, right?
Many to many is supposed to be hard, man.
It is.
That's all there is to it?
It's really all there is to it. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
So this is a simple 3-table app, and we've done one to many, and if you look at the 3 tables together, it's many to many. So, all right, guys. So this is a little session. We're going to talk about Dataverse and relationships between tables.
This seems to be the big sticking point for a lot of people's lives, right? Really, we're going to just talk about relationships, right? With databases. The other relationships, maybe not so much. But with databases, yeah, we're going to talk about that. So it seems like it's a big problem for a lot of people when they're dealing with databases. And I'm sure that you've dealt with it many times. It seems like people understand how to create tables. They understand how to show tables. They understand how to search. They understand how to do filters. But then we start talking about relationships. We go into the one-to-many and we go to one-to-one. And then people say many-to-many and they start scratching their heads and they go, I don't know what I'm going to do. What am I going to do? You know, and so they get stuck. And then, you know, that's the end of their journey, right? So what I'm hoping to do today, and I've been talking to you about it a few times, is I wanted to try to come up with some kind of a simplified demo that takes the mystery out of this thing. And I'm really glad that we're getting this opportunity today to try to do that. You know, I'm excited about that. So should we just step right in and start doing it?
Let's just step in and start doing it, man.
Did you want to do an ERD first?
You know what? That would be a great idea.
Because I know you like to do ERD. See, I've got an ERD. You always ask me, Kurt, do you have your ERD? And I say, yep, it's right here in my head. And he's always shaking his head.
Not acceptable.
Not acceptable.
All right, you tell me what to create here, Kurt. So we probably don't want to call our table 1, right?
Nope, I want a people table, a table called people.
Okay. Now, what do you think about calling the table a singular value, like person? Do you like that?
I do. And I don't. I don't know. It's a preference thing, maybe.
I'm going to follow your lead today, man. People.
Now, I tried that because, you know, Dataverse likes to stick a S at the end of it to try to pluralize things. So I said, what'll happen if I put people in there? And is it going to be people's? Is it going to be a people's table? Or is it going to just be, is it going to understand? You know, it'd be interesting. So now, the people table, now all I really want, now obviously you've got the very first field in there, it's going to be called people. And what that is, the Dataverse always creates a field that's going to be the same name as the table. And what that is, that's a GUID, a globally unique identifier, and that's going to be used. That's a very important field for us to be dealing with relationships and with filtering and searching. So it's a very nice feature that PowerApps Dataverse puts in, and it's one that we shan't mess with. Another field we want is name, and you've got that sitting right there, just like that. See, you're just reading my mind, Darren. So Dataverse wants to put a name. They want to put a name field in there. Now, when you go into Dataverse, for you guys that are just starting to play with this Dataverse thing, you know, you're creating tables, you're going to see about 20 fields in there that you didn't create. And they use that for various reasons, of which I know none. But this is what I do, is I leave them alone. And I just worry about our fields. But there's one field that it creates. Well, actually, this is the second one that it creates that we're going to use. And that is the name field. And Darren has taught me that, you know, it's going to put it out there. You might as well use it. Might as well use it for something useful. Well, one of the things that we're going to do today is we're going to create a database table of people. And the most important thing about people, well, besides your income, is your name. Right? So we're just going to go ahead and leave that name, and we're just going to keep this really simple. And it's going to be a data type char, which it's already a data type char. So that's all we're going to need in there. And we're going to leave it at that. And that's going to be our table. So we've got 2 fields. Now, understand that if you're going to make an app that's going to be dealing with people, like maybe it's customers, maybe it's employees, maybe it's you're going to put a lot of other fields in there. But I really want to keep this as bare bones as possible. I want you guys just to see the exact fields that you really got to have, you know. And really, for the people table and for the relationships to work, this is really all you have to look at, okay? So we're just going to leave it at that. So we got a people table. So let's go create another table. And let's create a table called services. You know, let's say, you know, I've seen one of our students wants to be wants to start a lawnmower business, and they're going to have different services. And I know another business that's going to be dealing with all kinds of different types of services, of which I don't know. So let's just put a thing out there, just call it services, because it could be a lot of different things. Maybe we could be calling this customers and accounts. We could be calling this customers and orders and product IDs, and we could do anything. But for today, we're just going to create a thing called services. Okay. Right. And just like in the people table, it's going to create a field called services, and actually in this case, do we want to just call it service? Maybe we just want to call it service because.
Yeah, I was going to ask if that was okay, but I didn't want to. Yeah. I didn't want to mess your flow up there.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. And look, if you think I'm going down the wrong track or just want to check on me, just check on me. Sometimes Kurt needs to be checked on now and then, you know? So we'll call it a wellness check, right? So just like in the people table, the service table is going to create another field, and it's going to be globally unique identifiers that is going to, in this case, it will identify each record for the service. And then we have the name field, which is just like in people, and we're going to use that name field to describe put the description of the service. It's just going to be a service description. And for today, that's all we're going to do with these two tables. Now, understand that if you're going to build an application, you would have lots of stuff in the people table and lots of stuff in the service table, lots of different fields to capture all the different kinds of data that you would need in there. You know, like for people, you might want a social security number and birthdays and addresses and emails and phone numbers. Services might be cost and types and categories and just all sorts of things you would want to flesh out. But again, let's not get away from the real meat and potatoes of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to deal with relationships. So this is all we really need. So now we're going to create a third table.
What's this key thing here? What's up with that?
Good stuff. So like that globally unique identifier, okay, that's going to be it's going to be globally unique. It's going to be a unique number, well, it's not really a number, a set of letters and numbers, and it's going to be a key so that we can do searches on this thing. So we can do, and it will be, when we're looking for that specific person, it's going to have that globally unique ID, and the database table will go out there and find it. So the searches that we're going to do will use that GUID to find the right record. Is that close enough?
I think so. So a key is a way to find something quick if you ever need to look something up, right? And it's typically unique.
You're going to use this. Yeah, you're going to use this all the time in lookup functions. Whenever you're doing a lookup, you're going to be wanting to use that because when you're wanting to try to find that one exact record, you want to use that, right?
That's right.
So, yeah, it's really important. And I guess maybe that's something that's hard for people to understand when you're beginning levels at database creation and stuff, is that key. But it's not rocket surgery. Is that rocket surgery? It's not rocket surgery, but it is important, and it is kind of hard. So don't get overwhelmed with that idea of keys and all that. You're going to hear primary keys and foreign keys and all that stuff, but it's just ways of looking things up.
So is this data going to relate to each other at all?
It will once we build the relationships, but we need to get a third table to do that. And what I always call this is a mapping table, right? It's going to be a mapping table.
Right.
And what I like to do is I like to use both names and then map. So what I would call this was people service map.
Right.
You could call it service people map, but I'm just saying people service map. That just tells me, this is my naming convention that I've adapted over the years, because what it does, it tells me that this is going to be a mapping table that's going to identify both of those other tables. So I just use the other two tables, and this is actually what's going to create the relationship. And we're going to do this in two different ways. One way, I'm going to show you guys how to do it. The second way, I'm going to challenge you guys to see if you can replicate it on your own. And I'd be interested to find out if you were successful at it, and if you learned anything by doing that, or if you got stuck and you need some help. We're going to be here for you if you need help. Yeah. So we have this people service map table. And again, it's going to give you a globally unique identifier, of which at this moment, we're not too worried about, right? But we're going to create two other fields in here. This is where it gets slick. Okay. We're going to use another data type called a lookup.
Okay.
Now, I call it a data type. Now, other people will say it's a type of field, and it is, but I treat it just like a data type because you're going to use it for nothing but looking up. So just like you use numbers for doing math and you use letters for showing labels, we're going to do a lookup for looking up. So it's going to be a lookup. We're going to create 2 lookups. And I have a naming convention that I've used over the years, and especially since I started with PowerApps and Dataverse, is you call it a lookup. Now, in the old days, we used to just call it IDs. You would have people ID and service IDs, right?
That's what I'm used to. Yeah.
Right. But with the Dataverse, they've kind of changed that, and they've made this so simple. So what we do now is we're just going to have a lookup, and I'm going to put the name lookup, the word lookup, in the name. So what we're going to do, the first one we're going to do is we're going to call it people lookup.
All right.
And we're going to make that a data type of lookup. Of course, you can't really show this in your ERD tool, but we know what it is. And then the second field is going to be the service lookup. So now this is where the mystery's at. What is this lookup doing?
Hey, if you're getting anything helpful out of this, a comment or even a like really helps the channel and lets people like you know this is good content. Much appreciated.
So what it's going to do is exactly what it says it's going to do. Remember, you always I get confused in this. I used to get confused in this a lot in the beginning of my database life. You put in the many side, you go and you put the lookup in the many side and point to the one side. So in this case, we're going to point to people. We're going to have the people lookup always going to be in the many side, and it's going to point to the one side. So it's going to be in this case, it'll be a many to one, right? And then you go over here to the service lookup, and you're going to point it to the service. Now, notice he drew that over to the keys. He didn't put it to the name, right? He didn't put it to the name because, see, you could have more than one Darren, Neese, or Kurt Larson's in there. I hope not, because one's enough, right? But we know that there's only going to be one people there. Now, think about this. If we're trying to put this in our head, one person could have many services, right? I might have, maybe I want my car washed, my grass cut, my garbage taken out, I don't know, whatever services you're offering, right? Yeah. And maybe I'm a customer that's going to have many of those services. So that's a one to many. On the other side, when we want to find out, well, how many cars do we need to wash in this today? Well, we go out here and we say, well, Darren's got one, Kurt's got one. So we need to find out the people that have the service. So that, again, that's a one to many, right? So you got a one to many on both sides. And that's why they call it many to many, because you got many services dealing with many people, right?
And a lot of times you'll see it like in the middle like this. I know I was trying to make it big and everything, but typically the mapping table will be in the middle, right?
Yep. Exactly right. And what we're going to show you today is how to do the one to many, or the many to one, however you want to look at that. We're going to show the people side with the services. I'm going to write a little app that's going to show how we can put this stuff in a gallery. I'm going to create this stuff in the Dataverse. I'm going to throw a couple names in there. We're not going to create CRUD screens or anything. I'm just going to put this stuff. I'm going to do the big no-no. I'm going to go directly into the data tables, and put the names in there. And then we're going to see if we can't just go ahead and create something. Okay. Let's do it.
Now you're gonna show us how to do this on your computer, right?
That's right. So do I need to do any kind of sharing? Have you already got it?
You're already set up, man.
Look at that. Wow. See, that's why we have Darren around. He knows how to do these things. Okay, so I just have this blank table here. Actually, what I want to do first, I want to go over here to these tables. I want to create our data structures, right? And I'm not going to make a big scene. We've already discussed all this stuff. So hopefully this is going to be pretty straightforward now. I'm going to create a new table. Now that we did an ERD diagram and it looks beautiful, I can use that ERD diagram to create my table. And I'm going to create a table here called people. And I'm going to save it. And we have Jeopardy music playing in the background as this is saving.
Do 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 do.
I'm almost thinking they had a scribe over there writing it all in by hand or something. It was taking so long. Okay. So then I'm going to go over here to my columns.
Yeah.
And you'll see that we've got a name. They put name in there and it created a people. And you'll see that the people field is a unique identifier, just like we said.
Well, look at that. Any chance you could zoom up on that, Kurt, just in case some of us have bad eyes or we're getting a little old and we might need things. Yeah, that might help us out a little bit there.
Is that going to help?
It is.
How do you think? What do you think?
I like it.
Okay, so so we're out of this, and that's it. That's all we've done now. This people table is done. It is finished. So I'm going to go back to my tables here, and I'm going to create another new table.
Okay.
And I'm going to create this service. And you'll notice I'm just going to put service, singular, and it's going to do the duplicate for me. Do, 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 do. Look at that. Boy, that's fast. And I'm going to go over here and click on columns. Where's my columns at? Over here. I zoomed on it, so now I'm lost. Okay. And
oh my goodness, look at all those columns there, all those fields.
What the heck happened here? Oh, you know why? Because the first time they didn't catch up yet. Now it's all caught up, right? So,
that's right.
So I'm going to go over here to columns. Let's do columns again. And I'm going to do a little trick here. I'm going to go over here to the name. And I'm going to sort that. And what it's going to do, well, it didn't do what I thought it was going to do because we didn't put any custom stuff in there, did we? Usually if you do the custom, if you put in your own tables or your own fields in there, it'll put that in there for you. Anyway, so you'll see it's got the name and it should have a service. It should have service in here somewhere. I'm not seeing it though. Oh yeah, it's right there. Okay. So we got the unique identifier and we got the single line of text. All these other fields were created for us. That's what we talked about earlier on. Okay. Yeah. So then we're going to go back and we're going to create a third table. A new table. And we're going to call this people, the other people, service, map. Like that. We're going to save it. And this is where we're actually creating most of our field work. It's going to be done right here in this. We got those two fields that matter the most in this relationship when we're building a relationship. So I'm going to go ahead and go to columns. I'm going to do new. Do a new column. I'm going to call this people lookup. And I'm going for the data type. You'll see this lookup right here. And I'm going to select lookup.
You go back in there. I think our faces were covering it up and I had to adjust.
Oh, okay. You want me to go back a little bit?
Yeah, go back to the data type. Our faces were covering that up.
So when I entered this people lookup, I had to put in a data type. And I selected from here, it starts it off at text, and I just went on here to lookup, and I chose lookup from here. Just like that. And when you do a lookup, there's an additional field entry that you have to do. You have to give it the related table. So you come over here and you give it the related table, and this is going to be the people table. So if I just start typing people, it puts it right there for me, just like that. Look at that. Bam. And I hit save.
Very good.
That column is now done. Now we have to do one more column. As soon as the Jeopardy music is done playing. And the scribes get done writing everything they have to write. Okay, then we do a new column. And we're going to do service table. Or service table. Service lookup. And I'm going to go to single line. See where it says single line of text there, data type. I'm going to change that. Change that to lookup and lookup. and I'm going to find the related table, and it's going to be service, right? So find the service. There it is right there. And I hit save. And I think, Darren, that's all we need as far as our data tables are, as far as creating our data. But I want to populate our data with our tables with a little bit of data, just a little bit. Okay, not a whole lot, just enough to make people see what's going on. So I'm going to go over here to my tables. And I'm going to find my people table. Down here, I'm going to create a name, Kurt Larson. Come down here and put Darren Neese. I'm going to put D.O. Frey. Oops. D.O. Frey. Oh boy, I can't. Dalton. And Steve. Ow.
I didn't get the ST.
That's good enough. That's enough names in there to show what we're going to try to do.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to come back to my tables, come down to service, go down to my name, and I'm going to go HVAC, level 1. I don't know what kind of service we'd run, so I'm just throwing stuff in here, guys. Level 1. Maybe I'm going to do some HVAC. Level 2. Maybe I'm going to cut grass.
Pick up garbage.
Yep.
Walk the dogs.
Take out trash.
Seems like your keyboard's cutting out there on you.
I know. I see that. What's going on? It's Bluetooth technology. You just can't win with it. Wash car. Right? So that's enough. That's enough services. So we got some people data in there, and we got some service data in there. So now we can go out here and build an app to show how these relationships are going to work, right?
Okay.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is come over here to PowerApps. And wow, that got small. Oh, it's because I got the browser set up. I want to bring that back to 100 because otherwise it just gets kind of weird.
Yeah.
There. Okay. I think that'll work better for us. Okay. So what I'm going to do is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and bring some data in because I know that I need the data. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the data in. Right. And I'm going to add those tables. I'm going to add the tables. There's my people. And see all my tables. Oh, services. I just saw it. I thought I saw it. Here it is. Services. And people service maps. Those are the 3 tables that we're going to work with. Those 3 right there. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in a gallery in here. I'm going to do a blank vertical gallery. I'm going to put people on there. Make that a little bit smaller. I'm going to make that a lot smaller. I'm not as good at this as Darren is. Darren is wicked good at this.
Sometimes I go a little too fast though too. So this is good.
You're right. I just feel like such a klutz compared to what you guys do. Okay, that's good enough. I'm going to put a border around this gallery just so that we can kind of see it in action, right? Just put a little border there. I'm going to go ahead and put a label in it. Insert a label. Don't you love these galleries? It just automatically, as soon as you start doing, this is what I like about this rapid application development. You can you're seeing it work just as fast as you're putting stuff on the screen, right?
Yeah.
In the old days, it would just take forever, just forever. Now, one thing I want you guys to I don't want you guys to get hung up on. This is something that I always get hung up on. I'll put labels out here, and then maybe I'll have a label over here off the right. and I'll be selecting it, and it's not doing anything when I want to do my click events, right? I do a select, and OnSelect, my OnSelect's not working, and I'll have this complicated code in there, and I'll be breaking the code down to its simplest form, trying to figure out why is it not working. And what I find out is that I'm clicking on the label and not on the gallery is what's happening. When I have the labels out here in the gallery in the template. So what you have to do is on the OnSelect. This boy, I'll tell you what, I've wasted so many hours on this. So in this OnSelect, make sure that you have a select parent on that. Sometimes you don't have it. Sometimes either I'll go in there and I'll be taking it out for one reason or another, but just make sure that select parent's in there on your labels that are in here, because or if you get stuck and you can't figure out why your click events aren't working, check that first, right? Just kind of throw that in there. Okay, so we have this done. And really, at this point, just for now, I don't really care. We just have people. Now, we could do some sorts on this thing, and we might be doing some filters in this thing if you guys are getting complicated in your apps. But for now, we're just showing people in here, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and put insert another gallery, another blank vertical. I'll put him over here. Make that small. Make it, that'd be okay like that. Guess I need to hook some data up to it, don't I? We'll put services. We'll go to the services. You notice we said service, but it puts services for us, right? And I'm going to go ahead and insert another text label. Uh-oh, I didn't do that right, did I? Let me delete that. I'm just going to insert. Always make sure that you click on the little template in there before you do your labels, because otherwise it puts it outside the gallery and then you get stuck on that. But if you do it right, it just pops it right in there for you, just like that, right? Kind of nice, huh? And then I like to do another little thing. I just like to create a little highlight on that. So what I'll do is I'll go over here to my advanced. First thing I'm going to do is I want to label these right. Let me put a border around this one. Let's label these right. Always give it a good label. We're going to call this gal people. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to name this one gal services. Okay, I'm going to come down here into the advanced, go all the way to the very bottom, template fill. And then I'm going to say, if this item dot is selected, you got to do this first. This item is selected, color dot light blue. Else make it the zeros. And see how that just kind of puts a little highlight in there for you? Just something so that way we can see what's being selected. I'm going to take this code. I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to hit Control C because that's the hotkeys for copy, right? I'm going to come over here to the gallery. I'm going to find this item or the template fill. Click on template fill. And I'm going to hit Control V. There we got it there too, right? Make these just a little skinnier so they're more kind of uniform, so it's halfway looking the same. Then I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a third gallery. I'm going to insert a third gallery here. Blank vertical. And right here, get this template set up. People service maps. Put a border around him. And I'm going to insert a text label. Before I put one inside, I'm going to put one outside here. And what I'm going to do, that'll look pretty good like that. I'm just going to put a little label on top of here so we can see what we're working with. Services for, and then we're going to say ampersand. And I'm going to say gal people dot selected dot name. So let's see how we got that going. I'm going to put that in bold. Make him bold. And then I'm going to insert another label. Okay. So we've got our self-design here. Now all we have to do is just do the action to actually build the relationship, to create the relationship. And we're going to do this right on the fly as we're selecting records here. So as I select this, you'll see I've got, if I select whatever record it is, it's going to change the name. It's going to be services for this person, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a relationship. What I want to do is my action for this is going to be when I click on this, when I click on our service over here, I want it to add it to this field, to this column over here. And pretty simple, right? And then I'm going to double check it. I don't want duplicates in there. So we're going to have to do a couple things. We're going to have to do a lookup in there to make sure that it's not in there. And we're going to have to, then we're going to have to do a patch in there. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the gallery. Got that gallery in. And I'm going to do the OnSelect. Okay, right here. And we're going to do
what I miss.
Well, I've just set up a couple tables here. Set up the tables. Got the middle mapping. I'm getting ready to do the action now.
It's looking good.
What I explained, I'll go ahead and repeat it just so that it always helps people to hear it again anyway. So, the action I want is when I click on a service over here, I want to put it over here into this middle gallery. Okay. And then I also want to double check because I don't want to do duplicates in that middle gallery. So that's the hardest part of this whole thing. Okay. So, so I'm going to go ahead and set up this first. I think I want to do it this way. Yep. I think I do. So OnSelect. I'm going to go ahead and bring this code window out. I'm going to do an if is blank. And I'm going to do a lookup of the people service maps. I'm going to look in that people service map table to see if the that's the data source. Now we're going to do the where clause, right? And we're going to say if there was something I wanted to do. Nope, this is fine. This is going to work. I'm going to say people. Let's see, gallery people. Actually, no, I don't want to do it that way. I want to say we're in the map, so I'm going to do it this way. I got to think this through just a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm going to say.
This is why they pay software developers the big bucks, because we have to concentrate and use our brains to do.
Absolutely. So we're going to go people lookup people. Right?
Mere mortals would have smoke coming out of their ears I'm concentrating so much.
That's why I smell something burning. That's why.
Hey, Kurt, when I was growing up, man, we were so poor we could not afford to pay attention.
That's right. So broke can't pay attention equals gallery people selected dot people. Right? Bam, look at that. And we're going to say service lookup.
Ooh. Okay.
Dot service equal and that is going to be this item, right? Because I'm in this record, I'm in this gallery, so it's going to be this item dot service. Perfecto. So if it's blank, so I did double quote there, or double quote, right paren, that closes out this lookup and this blank. So if it's blank, that means we don't have it in there. If it's blank, we're going to go ahead and do a patch. I'm going to patch it into people service maps. The other people service maps. This one right here. And I'm going to do defaults because it's a new record. And I'm going to do it into people service maps. Because we don't have many fields, it's going to be pretty simple, right?
It's true.
I'm going to do a name because we're going to use that name. So that way we can. I love this. I didn't explain this when I was doing the table, when I was creating the table, but the people service maps also creates a name field. And because we want to use that name field for something useful, I think it's really good to go ahead and I like to put both the people and the service in there so that way, when we're looking at it, we're browsing at our data, later on when you've got this huge 100-screen program and you can't figure out why something's not working, you can go look at the data and you can kind of see what you're working with, right? So I'm going to put in this name field, I'm going to put the gallery people dot selected dot name ampersand. I'm going to do a space. You know what? Let's make that a little bit better. Space and then a dash and then there's space, just to give it a little something to look at there. And then we're going to say this item. Oh boy, I forgot the ampersand. This item dot name. There we go. And then for the now this is the part that's kind of complicated for people to get. Now don't get overwhelmed in this. It's pretty simple. People lookup why didn't it show that? Oh, you know why I didn't do it? Because I didn't do a comma over here. That's what I really like about that
Intellisense. Will get you.
They do every time. That's why I love about that Intellisense. Once you start typing, you don't see that Intellisense popping up. There's probably something wrong. So I stopped and I had to go take a look. What did I do wrong? Yeah. That way you don't get too deep into it. That's one thing I like about that Intellisense. So now if I do that people look up, I bet it shows it. Look at that. People look up, and I'm going to say gal people dot. Yep, that's done. Now
you're just going to give it a record, huh?
That's crazy, isn't it? Isn't that crazy? You don't have to give it an item or nothing. Just give it the whole record. Just give it the whole thing. I love data. The creators of Dataverse were sitting there. The architects were sitting there saying, "Well, what do we want to give them? Just give it all to them. Just give it all to them. Give them the whole record." So This is so powerful, guys, because now when you're out there in your program somewhere, you've already received. Not only did you receive when you did that lookup, not only did you receive the identification, the right record location, but you got every piece of data already there. It's already there. You don't have to go looking at anything else. Just look in one spot. It's a one-stop shop. I love it. So we're going to do the same thing here too. We're going to do service lookup. And it's going to be gal. Oh, no, it's not. It's going to be this item. Dot. Nothing. It's going to just be this item because it's a whole record. And this item is whatever the record you're on.
That's true.
Isn't that beautiful, guys? Look at that. It's complicated stuff, folks.
So now that you got code in there, do you want to test it? And then once you test it and you see a good record go in there, I've got a question. I want you to sort of break down the code that we just.
Very nice. So what I've got here, hopefully it works, but it seems like it likes it, right? I don't see any red squigglies, as Lou likes to call them. She's Lou Nolan. Shout out to Lou Nolan there with her what do you call it? The Lexicon. You got the Lexicon here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and do what Darren well, it's not letting me. There's something wrong. Oh, you know why? Because I did a patch, but I didn't close it. I didn't close my if. See, another thing, when I went to format the text, you see I can't format the text. So there's a problem there. So that tells me if I put one of those things there, see how the format text came up? I closed my if. That's what happened. So according to Hoyle, which some of you guys are way too young to know what that means, there used to be a book called the Book of Hoyle, which all the card game rules and chess game rules and everything was in. We always reference the Book of Hoyle. So according to Hoyle, this is supposed to work right here. Let's go see what it does. So if I click on, I guess I got to run the program first. Let's see. Click on this. It's not working. Oh, it did work. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Look at it work, Darren. First time. Look at that. Now, if I click on one again, it doesn't work. But if I click on take out the trash, it puts it in there. Let's click on it again. Nope, doesn't put it in there. So there we go. We sort of got it working. It's not pretty yet because what I want to do is I want to do a couple sorts in here. And I think what we need to do is a filter because this isn't quite ready. Because look, see if I click on Kurt here and I put this in here, it's going to put Kurt stuff in there too. See there? So it's not quite ready yet, but it's close. But we got this part working, right? We got the action working. Mm-hmm. I'm getting excited. Are you excited, Darren?
I'm excited.
What was your question?
Well, let's go look at the code you had there. Click on the gallery. There you go. And then we'll open up the code window and let's look at that. Okay, so what exactly is up with this if statement? That first parameter of the if statement. What are we checking there again?
Right. So again, according to the action that we talked about earlier on, we want to, when we click on this, we want to bring this service over to the middle gallery. But if we click on it again, we don't want to bring in another record. We don't want HVAC level 1 more than one time for each people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's what that's doing. So let's go back and look at that code again. So I'm checking to see if it's blank. If this lookup doesn't return anything, it returns a blank record. If it's blank, it'll be a null. It'll be blank.
So we went and did a query on that mapping, that middle table there, and we looked for something that had the person that was selected and the service that was selected to see if it was there first.
Yep.
Because if it's already there, we didn't want to add one, right?
That's exactly right.
But inside of your query here, we reference the lookup field, then .people. Now, what data type is that?
That's the GUID, right?
That's the GUID. Yeah,
that's the GUID. So that's why it was so. We talked about that quite a bit in the beginning when we were creating the ERD diagram. Yeah. That's the reason why we talked about it so much. It's so important because of that GUID. Thank you for bringing that up.
Now, have you ever seen, would we ever be able to, like down below, we just gave it a record for both of those lookups. Is there any chance that we could do people lookup equals gallery.selected without doing all that?
I bet we can. I bet we can. Yeah, I've never tried it that way. I've always done it this way, but I bet you could. I don't see why you couldn't.
Yeah, let's try that out.
You want people lookup equals
That E out of
right.
there. You need to take that
People
E out.
lookup
There you go.
equals selected, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it should work. And
Well, did you see that equal? See the equal side got the red squigglies there.
Yeah.
So if you hover over that red squiggly, what does it say?
It's going to tell you record against a GUID. Well, I'm hovering.
Yeah, it's not really.
I had it.
Incompatible types for comparison. Okay,
record versus record.
So it based on what we're seeing there, it looks like we're not able. So that very first thing you did is almost a necessity, because down below, I almost get the idea, I can just throw a record here. Why can't I just say record equals record and match that up? So it looks like we actually have to keep that in there, right?
Yeah, and that's very misleading too, because why can't you compare a record versus a record, right? Because it's not really a record, it's really a GUID. You're really looking at a GUID. It's record versus a GUID is what it really is.
Yeah.
But you should be able to do that. But the reason why is because we're doing a lookup. And within that lookup, it's needing that globally unique ID. I can't say it right.
Now you just watch out. Maybe in 2 weeks, Microsoft will change something where we could just do a compare the record to record, right?
Right. People lookup equals.
Because when I see code down below, like we did there, we just put the record in there on that patch. It sort of makes me think that I could compare it, but it doesn't turn out.
I guess I've always done it this way just because it's easier for me for my own. I just lucked into it, I guess. Like I said, I've always done it this way just because it's easier for me to, if I look back at the code, I can see what am I searching for here, in this record. What am I searching for in that record?
Right.
But you would think, anyway, that's a good thing to point out there, Darren. Dot people. Right?
Yeah.
That works pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
So let's do a couple things here. First thing I want to do is I want to do some sorts because it's just bugging me. It's just going to bug me if I don't. So I'm going to go over here to item. Besides that, you guys might want to see what the sort looks like. So I'm going to sort. Now, if you were doing a sort, what I would be doing is and I might use name actually for this. I would have a first name and a last name, and maybe even a middle initial, but probably not. First name, last name. And then I would have a sort name. I would have a sort name, which would be last name and first name. So that way it would just show it all at one time. Or you could go ahead and stuff it in the name field because it's there anyway, and you might as well use it for something useful. But you could do, whatever you want. But anyway, in this case, I'm just going to say, I'm just doing a sort on whatever we got here. So it's not going to be a real good sort. It's just going to be a sort of sort. It's a sort of sort, right? It's a sort of sorts. People, and I'm going to do it on name, right? At least we see the D's and the G's and the K's all right there, right? And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Go to item. Holy cow, what happened there? Okay, and then I'm going to do that. Now, this is really the most important line of code in the whole thing that we've done. Of course, obviously, that lookup was pretty important that we did over here in that patch. And that's how you add a record. Now, we could talk about the patch statement. We could do an entire live stream on patch. In fact, I think you probably have several times. In fact, I think you have a video out there that's a pretty popular video on patch, don't you, Darren?
Yeah, if you do a search for Darren Neese patch, it'll come right up.
Yeah. So, but in this case, the other important thing to do is the filter. This filter line that we're going to do right here. This item's here. We're going to do filter on. We're going to do filter. That map, and then it's going to be where the people lookup, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people lookup. People lookup dot people equals gal people dot selected people. And I'm going to do a sort. No, I'm not going to do a sort there. I could. But because of the way I set up that name, it was not going to do too much good to do a sort on that. So we're just going to go ahead and leave it the same.
Very good.
Anyway, so let's see if that works now. Let's see. So when I click on, I'm going to cut some grass, and then I'm going to come over here to Dalton. It still had all of Dalton's stuff in there, didn't it?
Yeah.
But see, isn't that kind of smooth?
I like it.
It's it filters just the ones that we selected over here. Now there's one more thing that we need to do, because maybe you guys are a lot like me, and you have your yes and no moments where you're yes and no and yes and no. So maybe you don't want to, you put something in there and then you say, no, I didn't really want it in there. Yes, I did want it in there. So I think we need to do a delete in here. I just want to put a delete in this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and make that just a little smaller. I'm going to insert an icon. I'm going to actually insert a trash icon right there. Bam. I'm going to put that little guy right here. Make him just a little smaller. And then I'm going to check the visibility on that guy. Visible is going to be whether or not I'm selected him or not, right? So it's going to be this item dot is selected. And I'm going to click on this guy on the OnSelect. I'm going to say remove people service maps, comma, this item. Voila. So now when I have these yes and no moments, I can click on this and it gets rid of it. Come over here. Ooh, that's kind of sloppy looking. We need to fix that too. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Points off. Points off. Darren knows about points off. Points off.
That's right.
We say that all the time.
When Kurt is the professor of a class, you make a mistake, man, there's going to be some red marks on your printouts that he gives back to you.
I am going to make a point of it, aren't I? That's so funny. Not, when you're dealing with the points is the currency, nothing works faster than red marks and points off. Okay, so there we have it. Now it's going to work a little bit nicer, right? So if I come down here, I can get rid of this one. What do you think, Darren?
Looks pretty good to me.
So
we're doing many-to-many stuff here.
This was a many-to-many. That's as hard as it gets, right?
I thought many-to-many is supposed to be hard, man.
It is.
That's all there is to it?
It's really all there is to it. I really hope that we took a lot of mystery out of this thing. So I want to pose a challenge, Darren. I want to pose a challenge.
Yeah.
To you and to all the other people, but it's probably not going to be much of a challenge for you. But so what happens if you guys were following along with this and drawing this up, and I suggest you guys take the recording of this and look at it and study it and actually try to replicate this, because you learn programming by programming, not by just listening to me or reading a book or listening to Darren. Although listening to Darren, it will maybe come close to making you a good programmer, but you get to be a real good programmer by doing it. So I really suggest you guys replicate this, but I also want to throw a little challenge to make you an even better programmer. Okay. Because if you can figure out how to do this on your own and just try to wrestle with this in your mind, take this services. Let's maybe add another gallery in here, maybe underneath this one, move this around, play with this thing. It's your screen. Do with what you want. But when I click on a service here, I want to see all the customers that have take out the trash as a service.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I click on HVAC level 2, I want to see all the customers that pop up with HVAC level 2 in here.
Yep.
So it's kind of a reverse of what we just did here, right? And that actually would finish out the many-to-many part of this thing, because what we've done really essentially is a one-to-many, right? One customer has many services, but we didn't do the many side. So I don't want to do the many side. I want you guys to do the many side, and then I want us to be able to have an opportunity to talk about it if you get stuck.
So I'm thinking you got my imagination going here as we're writing an app. So this screen, this scenario that you have here on this screen here, it's really based on customer. You got that middle gallery filtering based on the customer, right? So let's say it's very customer centric, right? So we click on Darren and we find out all the services that he has done on a routine basis. But let's say each of those services are performed by different technicians. So let's say all the technicians don't go out to the house at the same time, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say I'm an HVAC level, maybe HVAC level 1 is they just do maintenance. They just go out there and clean out the AC lines and make sure it's good maintenance. HVAC level 2 is they're going to replace a blower, or they're going to replace a piece of equipment in the HVAC system, okay? So let's say we've got a different screen and say, I'm an HVAC level 2 type of guy. I only do HVAC level 2 type of work. Who are all my customers I need to go around to today or this week or this month? You know, right. So I'm just thinking of the business scenario in which you said you're challenging all, these students here to create this other side. It could be on the screen, but it could be a completely different app. So we've got maybe an app for all the service technicians. Then we have an app for maybe the customers that are ordering the services.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Well, definitely. You would be able to use the same tables to do that. The same table structure could build separate apps for it if you wanted to. I think it'd just be a good dynamic practice just to see if you can catch all the different ones that are in the service, all the different customers that are in the service at this point. But you're right. You could actually build an entire app for that.
Yeah.
And then once you get this accomplished, what we can do, and I hope we do in future, is we take this simple many-to-many relationship concept and take it out to different levels like you just did, where you can actually say, okay, well, now we're going to deal with, instead of the customer-centric, we're going to make this doctor-centric. We're going to make this the technician-centric,
I like it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
So this is a simple 3-table app, and we've done one-to-many, one-to-many, and if you look at the 3 tables together, it's many-to-many. So I'm hoping by you guys watching this material that Kurt graciously took us through, that you guys feel very comfortable with one-to-many and also many-to-many.
Yep, absolutely. And this is just part of what we're going to be doing in the near future with the accelerator, right? For the accelerator program, this is just a piece of what we're going to be doing in that.
Absolutely.
Guys, for some reason, YouTube thinks you're going to like this video next. Let's see if they're right. Or you can select this playlist, which I've selected for you based on the content you're currently watching. Guys, got to hurry. Click one of them. Otherwise, YouTube's going to autoplay some other video, which you probably don't want. Thanks.